Okay, I think we're up and running. So welcome to tonight's webinar. Oh, excuse me. Oh, dear me, excuse me. Tonight's webinar, as you can see there from the front slide, is all about goals and attitude. This is one of a series of 8 webinars that I run. I call it the Kleeneze Circle of Success, as you can see there. And the first 3, numbers 1, 2 and 3, are really about the retail side. It's about getting started, what you can expect in your first few weeks, building your customer base up. Then numbers 4 and 5 are about team building, a bit about getting started on team building and supporting team members. And then the last 3, 6, 7 and 8, are, I guess, arguably the more important parts of the business, because it's quite easy to learn how to put a catalogue through a letterbox. It's quite easy to learn how to send somebody some information or go and make an appointment with them and learn what to say and so on. But the skills are all about your personal development and setting goals and your attitude, doing things when you're not feeling great, that sort of thing. Those skills, if you can work on those, these are the ones that will lead you to much greater success. So last week we kind of introduced the idea of growing yourself, working on yourself rather than just working on the business, as it were. And tonight we're going to talk about 2 specific parts of that, which is goals and attitude. So what we're going to cover, firstly, whether or not you think your attitude is important. Does it matter if you go out with your Mr. Grumpy hat on or with your smiley face t-shirt? If you think it is important, and I hope after tonight, if you don't, then after tonight you will, then how can you work on that? How can you kind of get a better attitude, as it were? And then we're going to talk a little bit about goal setting and goal achieving and why that's important. And it's a useful skill to have, because that will really help you progress as far as you want to in the business and further, perhaps. So, quick question, is your attitude important? Well, I think it's very important, because if you think about it, every distributor, when you sign up, we all have the same catalogues, we all have the same products, we all have the same costs and overheads, and we all have the same payment plan. You don't get paid extra bonuses if you live in Cheshire than if you live in Kent. You don't get different catalogues in Newcastle compared to Plymouth. It's all exactly the same opportunity. But if that's the case, why are some people far more successful than others? And really, the reason is their attitude. So, a quick example, how do you feel when you get up in the morning? Sometimes you might feel, oh, big, all happy, smiley. Sometimes you might feel, oh, I didn't have a very good night last night, feeling really rough. But if you think when you get up, I'm going to get those catalogues out, whatever it takes. I don't care what the weather's like. I feel a bit rough now, but I'll have a glass of water and put my coat on and out we go. Or if you think, oh, God, I'm not feeling up to it really, I feel a bit, my legs a bit aching after some that yoga class I had yesterday. Maybe I'll do my catalogues tomorrow instead. What you will find is that successful people are the ones that do what they know they should do, even when they don't feel like doing it. And that's when having a great attitude will help you. Because even if you don't really feel like it, if you get those catalogues out anyway, then when you pick them up the next day, when you may be feeling a bit more positive and a bit better, then you get lots of orders and you're thinking, oh, I'm so pleased I put those catalogues out. So your attitude does make a really big difference. It can help you, as I've said there, to put your catalogues out if you're feeling a bit low. And it can help you when you're out with your catalogues. It'll encourage you to chat and smile with your customers. Even if you're feeling a bit down yourself, you can always kind of put a face on it, cheer yourself up, and be kind of happy and smiley with your customers. And being reliable, getting those catalogues out regularly, being cheerful and chatty with your customers helps you to build a really good rapport with your customers. And as a result, that builds a strong and loyal customer base. And a strong, loyal customer base gives you a good, steady income from your personal retail. We just saw earlier somebody, I can't remember who it was now, I do apologise, 140 odd catalogues, I think it was Peter and Myrna. 140 odd catalogues, £800 worth of orders. That's what comes from having a strong and loyal customer base. So that attitude will help. A good attitude will help you when you're doing your retail. But if you're interested in team building as well, then a great attitude helps you to do all of that lead generating activity. It helps you to put your leaflets out if you're feeling a bit under the weather. And it encourages you to make those follow-up calls, even if you're feeling a bit nervous and you're not sure, you're not feeling as positive and cheerful as you normally do. a good attitude says, I'm going to make those calls regardless, because it's really important to get to speak to these people, because people who've replied to your adverts are in need. They need something. They need a bit of extra money. They need a flexible way of earning some extra money. So if you rather than thinking a bit selfishly, oh, I don't really feel up to it, if you think these people out there are in need, let me see if I can go and help some people today. And that'll make you feel great, because in amongst those calls, you'll find some people that are really grateful. They're really pleased that you can help them, and they're really excited about the business, and that will improve your attitude knowing. So those activities that you do, those phone calls that you make, will bring in that extra team member this month, and that extra team member will help grow your team, and that will give you a bigger residual income. So that attitude has given you more retail and a bigger team, so that really does, I hope you'll agree, make a big difference to you. So just kind of wrapping that up really, having a great attitude can make the difference in your weekly orders between, once you've built your customer base, it could be £250, £500 a week you're earning, just the orders that you're getting, just because over the weeks and months as you were building that customer base, you went out every day as you knew you should. And it can increase your team orders. If you can imagine replicating that numerous times because of all the team members that you've now got, then your team orders can increase from 2,000, maybe 4,000 a week, and your income as a result of your extra retail, your extra bulk orders within your team, that could increase from £50 a week to £500 a week, just because you've got a good attitude. So that attitude makes a big difference. So that sounds good. If everybody says, yay, let's go and get some positive attitude. Excuse me, just slurping a mouthful of tea there. So where do you get that? I don't know about you, but last time I went into Sainsbury's, I looked all around the fruit and veg section and I just couldn't see any little attitudes or big attitudes anywhere. So you probably can't get it down your local supermarket. But there are a couple of ways that I'm going to show you now where you can improve your attitude. One is what I'm going to call your life philosophies. And that's, when I first started looking into personal development, people said to me, what's your life philosophy? I had no clue what they were talking about. I think my philosophy was trying to get to the end of the week without killing myself. Get to the end of the week so I had enough money to go down the pub or something. But in the next week's webinar, number 8, I'm going to talk a lot more about life philosophies. But I just want to give you a couple of little examples of what I think really helps me. And these are what I would call little philosophies. One is blame. If you're struggling with something at the moment, it's really easy to find somebody else to blame it. If you've got a job and you're hoping for a pay rise and you don't get a pay rise, it's easy to kind of blame your boss or blame your company. Or if you were hoping to get 500 catalogues out this week and it poured down with rain on the day you were hoping to get them out, you can blame the weather. And it's easy to find something else to blame. The thing about if you blame something else is that you then give them the power to do anything about it. If you're going to say, it's my boss's fault that I didn't get a pay rise, then it will always be his fault, so it's up to him whether you get a pay rise or not. Alternatively, you could say, well, what do I need to do to get promoted? Let me have a chat with my boss, with my team leader. They might say, if I learn some extra skills or get an extra qualification, then that would put me in a great position to get a pay rise. So I could then go to evening class, learn these extra skills, and then put myself in a really good position for a pay rise. And even if my boss doesn't give me a pay rise, I can then say, well, you know what, I've got these extra skills now, I'm going to start applying for those other jobs, because there's other jobs in my company or other jobs outside of the company that I can now apply for because I'm more valuable, because I now have these extra skills. And the whole point of that is you haven't blamed your boss. You said, I'm going to take the control myself and get my own education and then get a pay rise from that. And the same with the weather. If it's pouring down with rain, you could blame the weather, or you could say, right, I need to put my raincoat on, make sure I've got everything all wrapped up in the plastic bags. I'm going to go out anyway. It's up to me whether I put the 250 catalogues out. It's not up to the weather. So that's a great philosophy, and you can apply that in all parts of your life. Another one is about making decisions. If you're thinking about, trying to lose weight, become a bit healthier, for example, One tiny decision you could make every day would be, shall I have this apple as my snack at 11 o'clock, or shall I have this chocolate bar or chocolate muffin? And if you have a chocolate muffin every day, it might not make a big difference, but over time, it's a bad habit that will start to build up. If you eat the apple every day instead, then the extra energy it gives you and the healthy diet, if you like, builds up and up and up and gives you a much healthier and more energetic life. So just making that tiny little decision every day will lead you to success in different parts of your life. So that's just a kind of couple of examples about your life philosophies that will lead you to a good attitude. If you're not blaming other people, and if you're making good decisions every day, your attitude just improves as a result of that. And the other thing that really makes a big difference to your attitude is success. If you're being successful at something, you tend to feel happier about it, and so that will give you a positive attitude. And what is success? What's a measure of success? Well, I think a great way to determine whether you're successful at anything is if you're achieving goals. If you set yourself a target and you're achieving it, then you're successful. And you can set the next target and so on. So, constantly setting and achieving goals is a guaranteed route to success. And if you're being successful all the time, then your attitude will be positive all the time, or most of the time, let's say. So here's what I'm just going to go through now very quickly is just a little step-by-step approach on how to set and achieve goals. Because if you can do that, and anybody can, but if you can do that, if you take the time to do it, then that will give you a route to success, and that route to success will give you the improved attitude that we were talking about earlier. So the 3 steps that I'm going to talk to you about, firstly is what goals are important to you. There's no point in me saying to you, right, your goal should be put 500 catalogues out, and put 25 shop cards out, and recruit 3 people in the next month. Because those are my goals that I've set to you. What you've got to decide are what goals are important to you. And everybody will have different things that are important to you, depending on your family and your financial situation and your health situation. So firstly, you need to think about what goals are important to you. Then you need to set some goals, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. And then the 3rd step on that is just how to achieve those goals. And you do need to be prepared for a bit of a roller coaster. Success, there's a great picture, I don't think I've included it in here. There's a great picture that talks about what people think success looks like and what it really looks like. And basically what people think success like is, if you can imagine a straight line from the bottom left-hand corner of a square, like an arrow pointing up to the top right-hand corner, people just assume that if you're successful, you go in a straight line from where you are now to where you want to be. In reality, it's if you imagine a kind of a line which is all tangled and like a big ball of string going up and down and back and forward, and eventually coming out at the top right-hand corner again at success, then that's what success really looks like. And it will be a roller coaster. So don't expect, just because you've kind of started to set a few goals and achieve a few goals, that everything's going to be smooth as silk. You do need to be prepared for some ups and some downs. So, I said at the beginning, these 3 steps that we're going to go through, what are the goals that are important to you? What is your why? And it's really important to understand what is a strong why. And usually it's something related to your family. You know, you want your children to be happy and not to have to want for things and so on. But if you don't have a strong why, let me show you typically what will happen when you start setting goals. First off, you set some goal, whatever it might be. You know, I want to earn £500 this month, and you create a plan. Okay, and I'm going to have a plan, which means I'm going to put 250 catalogues out twice a week, and I'm going to talk to 5 different people about the business every week. So that's your plan. You've written it down, and you take the first steps. You go out and you start putting some catalogues out, and then something happens. And it could be you get a grumpy so-and-so who throws a catalogue back at you and says, I don't want this stupid catalogue, nobody ever orders from it anyway. And you're thinking, oh God, do I really need this grief? And then you kind of put a few leaflets out and somebody calls you up and says, oh yeah, I might be interested. And then you talk to them about the business and you explain how to get started. And then they say, oh, What, do you mean I've got to pay for all of this stuff? Oh no, I'm not interested in that. And so your first lead, who you're really excited about, suddenly doesn't join the business. So you will get these little obstacles that will appear. And to be honest, if you don't have any obstacles, if you're only putting out, say, 10 catalogues and maybe only talking to one person a month, then your goals are probably not ambitious enough. But if you've got a really strong and a powerful reason why, then when these little obstacles appear, it will help you to overcome them. So I think when you're thinking about defining your goals, a great way to do it is to make the goals emotional. I deliberately set an example earlier when I was talking about set a goal for I'd like to earn £500 this month. £500 is, I mean, it's a figure, it's a number. You can tell whether you've achieved it or not, but it's much better if you were able to make that something that's kind of emotionally involved with you. So rather than £500, if you were to say, I would love to be able to pay off my credit card bill, because every time when that letter comes through the door, I know when it comes at this time of the month, and I hate it because I never have enough money to pay it off, and I'm always having to scrimp and save, and I can never buy new clothes for the kids because of this blinking credit card bill. If I could pay off that credit card bill, then that would just give me an extra £50 every week of interest that I don't have to pay anymore. And that would be fantastic. We could take the kids to the cinema once a week, or I could buy the new laptop that we've always wanted once I've saved up, whatever it might be. So by making it emotional, and I've mentioned family there, just because family is a great way to kind of make that emotional. We all want the best for our children or our partners or whatever. A little example for you: if I put a plank of wood down on the ground and said, if you can balance on that plank of wood, walk along there, for 8 or 9 steps, if you get to the other end without falling off, I'll give you 20 quid. You'd probably say, easy peasy, and off you went. So you walk across the plank, there's the 20 quid, no problem at all. If I take that same plank and I put it at the top of a skyscraper, reaching across on the 50th floor to the neighbouring skyscraper, so there's a big drop underneath it, and I say, okay, you walk across there again, I've got another 20 quid for you. Chances are you would say, no, not a cat's chance in hell I'm going to walk across there. That is so dangerous. Why would you walk across there just for 20 quid? It's the same plank. You did it when it was on the ground. What's changed? There's an obstacle that's appeared. Suddenly you're a lot higher up and it's quite worrying. However, if your daughter or son was in the other building, 6, 7 years old, really worried because suddenly the other building is on fire and there's flames coming up through the floors and the smoke's coming up, and they're absolutely terrified, there's no way they can get across the plank on their own, would you get across that plank to help them back? And you would, of course. You'd find a way. You'd get down on your hands and knees, you'd tie a rope around it, you'd go across really carefully on your hands and knees, look straight ahead, don't look down, whatever you do, get somebody to hold it at this end, then you go across to the other end, rescue your son or daughter, take them back, and it's fine. You don't want the 20 quid, you've just got your son or daughter back. So all of a sudden, the obstacle of it being high up is irrelevant because you've got a really strong reason why you want to do it. So I hope that kind of explains a little bit about why having a strong reason and setting goals that are emotionally linked goals is really useful. So, once you've started to think about what goals would I like, where am I in my life at the moment, what are the important things in our life, how would you then set those first goals? So, I think a good place to start is by sitting down on your own or with a partner or something and just thinking, grab a cup of tea so you haven't got lots of distractions. What would you change in your life? What would I change in my life now? If I could change anything, what would it be? And it could be, as I say, I'm sick of the car always breaking down, or I hate it when the bills come through the letterbox. I hate it when the postman walks down the street because I know he's going to have a bill for me. Whatever it might be. And once you start writing those things down, if that's something that you would change in your life, that's probably a good indication of where the goals should be that you need to write down. And it's great to have different kinds of goals. So typically you would start off with some short-term goals. So these are things that you could probably achieve within 1 to 3 months. So an example might be, you're really keen to do well on the Facebook selling maybe, and your laptop is an absolute dog. It's constantly crashing. It runs really, really slowly. You can't find the snipping tool. It's causing all sorts of issues. You'd love to have a new laptop. Or maybe your kids love roller coasters. You want to have a day at Alton Towers or something like that. So that's something that when you work out what the cost of that would be, maybe a couple of £100, you could achieve that within your first month or two, just by following the system fairly simply. Medium-term goals are probably more interesting, bigger, exciting ones that might take you 6 to 12 months to build up. So maybe that could be, if you've got big credit card debt, maybe it'll take you a few months to pay that off. But once you've done that, that would be such a burden off your shoulders. And suddenly you start looking forward to the postman coming, because he's bringing sort of your tickets for your next family holiday and the postcard from your sister who's gone away, and all these exciting things, rather than worrying about the bills. So medium-term goals might be a bit bigger, a bit more interesting than the short-term goals. And longer-term goals can be even more exciting. So, you could also be thinking about, what, I'm just sick of renting, sick of living in this flat. I would love to be able to put a deposit on our own house. And these days, that's not cheap, so that might take you a while to save up for that. Or maybe it's a car. Maybe you'd love to have a brand new car, a brand new Mercedes or something like that. And again, that could take you a little while to work towards that. So it's really good to have some short-term goals that you can achieve fairly easily within a couple of months, medium-term ones and longer-term ones. So a great exercise that I do with my team sometimes is sitting down with everybody and just using your imagination, writing down what's important to you over the next few months and years, so that you can then start to emotionalize, if you like, those goals. So okay, that's good. We've kind of got an idea of what's important to you. You've started to think about short-term goals, medium-term goals and longer-term goals. But how do you achieve them? It's all very well writing them down. Whatever that goal is, how do you actually achieve it? So the goal that you're working towards, whichever one we pick, is some kind of change in your life. And that change you can implement that change by achieving some results. So if that change was, for example, let's say pay off that credit card debt, I don't know what it is, £500, £1,000, something like that. You can achieve that by getting some results. The results could be your orders from your customers, which give you some retail income, a bonus at the end of the month, maybe some team members to help you build up a residual income. So those results are what are going to lead you to the income that will allow you to pay off that credit card debt. And your results will happen by you taking some actions. So let's just have a little table just to kind of give you a few ideas along that. If the results that you wanted was a new laptop, if that was your goal, then maybe if you put out 200 catalogues twice a week and you deliver 500 leaflets twice a week to recruit some team members, it won't be long before you've got £200, £300 income a month coming through, and that could easily pay for a new laptop. So those actions, putting the catalogues out, putting the leaflets out, are things that you control. So you can take those actions. You might have to go out when it's raining a bit, you might have to do it when you're not feeling up to it, but you can control whether you take those actions and whether the results come this month or next month or sometime never. It's exactly the same if you've got bigger medium-term and longer-term goals. Maybe the actions you need to take to pay for a big family holiday is you need to really keep blanketing until you've got a customer base of 500 customers or so. And maybe you want to start building a good, strong team. So you need to talk to 10 different people about it. It doesn't have to be 3-foot ruling. This could be people who have replied to an advert or a shop card or some leafleting. So setting yourself an action then, again, that's something that you can control. You can do the actions. You can make sure you make the follow-up calls, you deliver the leaflets and so on to generate the leads. And the longer-term ones, exactly the same. Perhaps you decide, right, in order to buy a new Mercedes, I need to get to whatever SED level. So I need to be generating at least 30 leads a week. So what do I do to achieve that? Am I putting my leaflets out, my shop cards, maybe investing in some leads on the internet? And maybe I need to support my team by running a little webinar or sending my team newsletter out or whatever it might be. These might be things that you've never done before. If you've never had kind of management or supervisor responsibility, it might feel a bit scary. But speak to your upline, because all of us have an upline who runs a webinar or sends a newsletter or supports their team or runs an opportunity meeting. And all of these things are things that you can do as well that will help you get up to the bigger incomes in the business. But start off with small actions. Everybody, if you're in this business, can put a few catalogues out, post a few adverts on Facebook. We can all do that. So start off with those small actions, because doing the small actions will give you the small results, and that will lead to bigger actions and bigger results. So if every week you're getting a small success, and that can simply be, yes, I've delivered the 500 catalogues that I set myself a target to do, or I've put out my 500 leaflets. So you get a little success, a little tick in the box, and you become, a bit more motivated. I can probably do that again next week as well. And then maybe at the end of a period, you hit your 10% bonus, get an extra 50, 60 pounds, so your income from that month is 250 quid. So you're thinking, that's brilliant, and now I can buy that laptop that I really wanted. So you have a bigger success and you become even more motivated. And then maybe once a year, you move up to gold level or the next level, and you qualify for the Paris trip or the trip to India, and then you're getting seriously motivated by all these things. And it all starts off by those little goals each week. Just putting a few catalogues out, putting a few leaflets out, and that momentum builds and builds and builds. And all of these successes that you're getting every week improve your attitude, and that constantly improving attitude leads to constant success. It's a bit of a virtuous circle there, really. So as I've said, be prepared for a bit of a roller coaster, because as I said earlier, any path without any obstacles is probably not leading anywhere. So what can you expect to happen? If you persevere with this, setting goals, achieving them, setting goals, achieving them, you will go through a number of phases. So one is you can start to get excited. You think, right, I know where I want to go for now. I've got this goal. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to be successful. And then you start to get a bit of frustration. Maybe you lose a few more catalogues, or you don't get a very good pickup, or you start to talk to some people about the business and you get a few negative people. So you start to doubt yourself a little bit. And then you're feeling, oh God, this is dreadful. You can be in the pits where, and this is a normal phase which happens to everyone. And it could be after a couple of days or a couple of months or a couple of years even. And what starts happening is you stay away from the meetings, you stop coming to the webinars, you find excuses, you find faults with the business or your upline or the catalogues or the weather or your car or whatever it might be. But if you've got this good attitude that you built up by having regular successes, then that leads you to the fight stage. And basically what that means is you say to yourself, I'm not going to give up. I know that success is just around the corner. I've done it before and I can do it again. And you start to focus on your goals and your successes, and you're not worried about the obstacles, because you know if your why is strong enough, you can overcome these obstacles. So you start attending the events again, communicating with your team and with your upline, and that really gets you back on the road to success. Okay. Coming towards the end now, guys, so thanks everyone for your patience. I hope you all found that useful. I've got a couple of quick questions. Would anybody like to share with us any short-term goals, either that you've got now that you want to make a start on, or maybe ones when you first started off that short goals that you really wanted to achieve in your first couple of months? Anybody got any thoughts, any ideas? Okay, Shan, that's a good one. I've heard that a few times. A lot of people are really frustrated by their job and they just want to get to the point where they're earning enough from the business so they can quit work. So that's brilliant. That's a good one. That can be quite emotional. And Sean's done it. Fantastic. Yeah, hitting 10% consistently. I think that's a really good one, Pete. And what I would do is put in there what you would do when you're doing that. What will your emotional or kind of family or friend goal be that you would then be able to achieve with that income that you've got in? Yeah, Dubai, that's a great one. Yeah, gold by period 8, Kathy, that's brilliant. What I would say is, rather than setting a period a goal which is get to gold, make sure you've got clear in your mind what that would help you to achieve. You know, would that allow you to pay off some debt or quit your job or buy a new car? Because it's the emotional, the visual thing, if you like, that's more powerful than just having a number at the end of the day. But no, that's great, guys. I'm glad to see that there's people, starting to think about goals and what they're aiming for. And you should also be doing, as well as having the short-term goals, things that you think you can achieve in the next kind of 1 to 3 months. You should be looking at what am I going to do beyond that? 6 to 12 months. Can I qualify for India or the next conference? And then longer-term goals as well. I think it's really great to have a kind of, I know Michael Cathcart calls it a big, fat, hairy goal. This is something that is so exciting. As I say, your own house or a villa in Spain or a brand new Mercedes or whatever. And if you've got these really exciting goals, they can kind of really drive you through any obstacle that gets in the way. Oh, Katrina, I mean, that's what a gorgeous goal that is. I can just imagine you guys all living down there in Cornwall, down the beaches and everything with kids and the grandchildren. That would just be, that's a great goal, because I think that's really visually and emotionally. You can kind of just imagine yourself sat on the beach with the kids and the grandchildren, and that's a good example, Katrina. Thanks for that one. So my question to you all, whether you've shared your goal with us or not, is, are you taking the actions that will inevitably lead to that? Because you'll need to put your catalogs out regularly, do some lead generating activities. If you're not doing the actions, the goals won't appear by themselves. Okay, just after 8:30, I reckon that's a reasonably good time to finish. So that was number 7. Next week we're doing personal development, which is the last of the 8. I said earlier that I record all of these webinars, so I'm just going to turn off the recording for now.